Good morning, Terry Washington. Welcome to Chalk Talk. Thank you for joining me. I know it's it's not really earlier on the East Coast, but anyway, not too bad. So Terry and I have a lot of history. Terry used to run the NBA. Okay, no, she didn't run the NBA. That's my story, right? That's my story. Terry used to work in the public relations department, media relations for the NBA back when the Houston Rockets won championships. That's when we first met. And Terry, you were working for the league when Les Alexander bought the team from Charlie Thomas, right?
Correct. Yes.
Right. Can you talk a little bit about how much different it is now when buying the teams, especially just how much more teams are worth now?
Well, you definitely have to have a deep pocket, that's for sure. I mean, his value, I think he bought it for $85 million or so, and now it's worth multiple billions, billion and a half. So you're seeing either you're not necessarily seeing single owners, you're going to see multiple owners because of the value of the franchises. Most of them, obviously, the Houston Rockets is one of the top tier teams as well. But whether it's a corporation or multiple people buying teams, it's really, it's not so much as a family business anymore as it might have been back when people invested in the earlier days.
Do you think that we're getting to where we might see minority ownership of an NBA team? I mean, we kind of saw that, was it the Denver team back in the day, briefly, that there was minority ownership?
We did Michael Jordan in Charlotte.
Well, we do have Michael, can't forget him.
Michael in Charlotte, which, so he, is the primary owner of that team. So I think as you see more players or have been expressing interest, whether it's Kevin Garnett, LeBron, it's kind of been floated that he was interested in owning a team, and as they value, obviously they're making a lot more salary wise, but they have a lot more off-court income as Michael did. He was kind of the anomaly. Now you're seeing more and more players do that. So I could see whether it's a couple players getting together or individually as investors in the teams, I could see that happening.
So you and I talk a lot about just how the game has changed. I always tell people how the players are different, right? I mean, people at home see what they do on the court, but just the nature of the business is so incredibly different. And the money is just so big. Yeah. When you hear about some of the huge contracts the players are getting, of course, I'm sure you're like me, like if people can make money, good for them. But are you surprised at the amount of money players are able to make and the kind of control that the top tier players have?
Yeah, I mean, the money is crazy. I mean, I will say, that's the split of the revenue that they've done. I think the owners are also making as well. The TV revenue is a big driving factor of that because it multiplies. I mean, Adam Silver has done a great job as commissioner, and it more than doubled, from the previous contract. So when you see that influx of money, one of the things that we're seeing is they kind of wanted to smooth it in, which the Players Association rejected doing. So you're seeing this huge jump of salaries because there's a minimum threshold that teams have to spend, and then obviously the maximum has gone up as well. So some of these guys, just right place, right time. I mean, they're really able to benefit. I mean, obviously salaries are going to stay higher moving forward, but definitely guys are seeing now some of the salaries that they're getting is a lot higher.
The control part is, now you have this conversation, you have a Richard Sherman come out and say, we've got to strike, which is a whole different dynamic in the NFL than the NBA. And I wonder, can the NFL players ever get to where they have the kind of control that NBA players have? And I don't really see it happening anytime soon.
Well, it might be tough for NFL. I just think because of the structure of the number of players, obviously there's a small amount of players, and then one player on an NBA team can affect the success of the team so much. I think one of the things, though, that owners may not have anticipated was the top-tier superstar players are willing to take a little less. You're always in the mindset we're going to go for the maximum, we're going to give them the most amount, which most people do. Like I said, we're here to maximize our revenue. But if you're willing to take less to play with certain players, as maybe Kevin Garnett did, obviously Golden State, and even LeBron did first when he went to Miami, you're willing to take less. You have a lot more control of your destiny and you can link up and say, okay, I'm going to do this, do that. And obviously the off-court revenue contributes to that because they're making so much off the court as well. And then if you go like LeBron's situation, when you go to Florida, it's a no state tax state, so you're not losing that. So you're going to look at the larger picture. But it's hard to anticipate. If guys are willing to take less money, You could be able to control it. I think one of the things that's lost sometimes is that people criticize Kevin Durant so much. It's okay to want to choose where you want to work. It's not just about winning. Sometimes it's about a system, a style of franchise, and that's why these teams have to build the right cultures that's attractive to players, and if they want to go there, and you get criticized for that, but anybody, we all look at places to work and
right.
Culture. Do you fit in, and how does it work for you? So I don't see that as a bad thing. I see that you're just doing that as any other person who's looking for employment.
I think that that's one of the things NFL players, other than having guaranteed contracts, obviously they would like to move their league to that, but being able to decide more where you want to work. Free agency has a very different look in the National Basketball Association than it has in the National Football League. And we see that with players like you mentioned, Kevin Durant, who said, I want to work here. He was going to make money, but this is where I want to work. And I'm with you. I thought he was unfairly criticized because how many of us, if we had an opportunity other than the only way I can decide where I work is to start my own business, would take that, would be able to say, you know what, I'm going to go work over here and be compensated well, and I'm going to work with these people and their system because it fits. It's a better fit for me. So, I have this theory about the Houston Rockets and the James Harden recent expansion, because he was expanded a couple of weeks before the last really big expansion. And then this week, we get the call that Les Alexander decided to sell the Houston Rockets. I said, that's why he locked up James Harden. You have to, if that's your superstar, the potential new owners want to make sure you have him locked up for as long as possible. Why is that so important in this day and time of the NBA?
Well, it definitely keeps the value of the franchise high, knowing that you're going to have a team in place and a structure in place. And obviously, having Chris Paul is no slouch either, and he seems really excited about being there. He's a top-tier point guard, so you look like you're going to be buying into a winning culture and a good franchise. And honestly, it's the perfect time for Les to sell, because they're riding high. There's a lot of excitement around the team, and if they get Carmelo, obviously to see if that would comes to fruition. But it's kind of widely reported that Houston is one of the teams that he's willing to go to. So that's a lot of excitement. And if you're someone looking to invest, now's a good time. But you're definitely going to probably pay a premium price.
You got to pay a premium price. So you mentioned Carmelo. You also work with Carmelo in Denver, and he, I've only, seen him when he's come in at, a brief post-game interview. Do you think that he gets a little bit of a bad rap in terms of where he is in his life as a competitor? Or do you think now is a good time where he's probably ready to really do whatever it takes to win? Would he be a good fit here for Houston?
I definitely think he is underrated as a competitor. He wants to win. He plays hard. He definitely puts in the work. I think sometimes individual people just want to kind of see him just as a scorer. That's all he cares about. I know sometimes the defense can be there here and there, but he's definitely a competitor that wants to win. I think at this stage, he's in his early 30s, when he's becoming, the end part of his career, that he would be a great fit because he would want to win and do whatever it takes. He has a comfort zone with Chris Paul, and I think Chris would be a great leader. They could be, great, complement each other very well, with Chris being a great leader on the floor, and Carmelo and James complement that. Definitely their styles. I mean, there would have to be some work because they do all need the ball. So and everyone can't have it all the time. But I think if you see winning, these guys are about winning. That's the way you're measured now. If you don't win, it's almost like your career doesn't matter. We've got this kind of the pendulum's a little crazy with that sometimes. But I definitely think he's underrated as a competitor and how much he wants to win. People don't see that, and his work, has had mixed results. So it might be time to move on from him.
There was a lot of talk, obviously, initially about his history with Mike D'Antoni. Apparently, Mike D'Antoni has made it clear that, if he wants to be here, that he welcomes him. And it's probably just a different time for both of them, and there's no denying what kind of player Carmelo is in terms of what he can bring offensively. And then when you go back to those, USA basketball teams, he is able to play with other stars. And sometimes I look at even what happened with Kevin Durant. He clearly is a superstar, but going into Golden State, it wasn't all on him. I mean, it was just a better fit. And so sometimes people, like you said, need to change the scenery, and it's a better fit. And just like any other relationship, because this basketball team thing is a relationship, it's about timing too.
It's about timing. And I think, when you're and you said it best about, playing with other superstars on the, USA team, Carmelo feeling like he has to do so much and maybe sometimes overcompensates in maybe not the best results. And I think when you have other players and you have confidence in and you have the trust on the floor, that really will help you. And you're willing to sacrifice a little. Then again, hopefully with the situation with DAntoni, you all have maturity about it and you learn from the mistakes. Because obviously there were some issues there, maybe a little style and all that stuff. But everyone's got to be willing to give. And if you're not, then it's not going to be successful. But I think if you get to a point where, hey, I only have so many years left. If I don't do it now, it's probably not going to happen. And he was a winner. I mean, he won at Syracuse. It was 100 years ago. But, it's the joy of all of New York. It's a good title, so he's a winner.
Okay, before I let you go, I have to ask you about the Summer League. This year, people were interested in the Summer League. I found myself watching. It's not a new thing.
Right.
Is it because of Lonzo Ball and the whole phenomenon around him that really made some excitement, made people watch the Summer League? There seemed to be a lot more interest and emphasis on the Summer League. And so I want to know your thoughts about that. And then also about just what we're seeing from Lonzo Ball and his dad.
Well, this is a great class. A draft class. Lonzo Ball definitely is a big, a lot of attention leading up to it. But De'Aaron Fox, just Tatum. There's so many players, and people are really interested in seeing how they would look. Unfortunately, Markelle Fultz got hurt early, in Philadelphia. But no, it's like a great class. It likens it. I think Dwayne Wade even tweeted out something about comparing to 2003. When they had all those guys. But it's just a deep class, and obviously, it's just it'll be seen whether how guys shake out. But the Summer League is great. You're seeing some returning veterans as well. But I just think there's a lot of excitement about this class. There's a lot of hype. They had a fun NCAA tournament where a lot of them showed some really good things. So, definitely Lonzo Ball, his dad. There's a lot of attention. I marveled how this kid has really handled attention, because there's obviously his father has generated a lot,
right?
A lot of attention and scrutiny on him, where you can have NBA players coming after you, probably in jest and in fun,
right?
But still, you got a little bit of a bullseye on your back, and I really have been impressed at how he's handled it, honestly. And he hasn't said a lot publicly. I think from a PR standpoint, he's going to see that more when being in LA. Going to LA with the magic there, he's been through it, and his mentor is great, and obviously access to Kobe and other veterans there. With Steve Walton as the coach and Brian Shaw, who've been through it, who's seen it.
Right.
It really helped him along. So he's in a really great position, and of course, extremely talented. So he makes it fun. So there's always that. We're good. And, the Lakers are looking towards 18.
Right.
This year is going to be a good year for him to learn the NBA and develop his skill set further. He's only 19. So.
And I think people forget that. And when I heard some people this summer talk about, like in his first game, like, oh, he's a bust. I'm like, since when has the Summer League had people put that much emphasis on what it was going to mean for how you fared in the NBA? It's really much more important, obviously, for rookies trying to get a spot, free agents who are trying to earn a job, and just for the rookies to kind of start getting the feel of the pace. But no one's judged by the Summer League. Right.
And the thing is, it's just the society now. Everybody's like, now, it's just, now, it's immediate. Oh my goodness, it's like, right. It's like, people 5 minutes. They haven't had a training camp yet. So, it's immediacy, but I think people will see, and that's why that's why we play the game. So it should be fun. I think these guys to see how I love De'Aaron Fox too. I mean, I think he's
Yeah.
Sacramento. I mean, people were putting him on life support. They did some fun things this summer, actually. I'm like,
Yeah.
made some good moves. So that and the OKC trade, I mean, there's some really fun storylines coming. Seemingly all in the West, but there's some fun
Right.
storylines. I know that East versus West is brutal.
I'm surprised that the shift of power hasn't changed yet.
Right.
It's been this way for a minute, and that's a little surprising because there was always a little more parity in the league. But now,
I am too. You figure because the West was strong for so long that okay, we pitch a little swing, but just as it's happened, I mean, sometimes, like I said, that's what it's about. Where free agents want to go, you got to establish that culture. The players want to go, and want to be, and feeling like that. But I am too. It is a little surprising when Paul George and Jimmy Butler, kind of the two prizes both going to the West, and I guess Gordon Hayward was the only one that superstar or all-star that came east. It's the rich, richer, as I say. But
okay, I said that was the last thing I just have to do. Have you seen much of the Big Three? What do you think about that?
I did actually. I just went to Philly, the game in Philly,
Uh
where Allen didn't play. The fans weren't happy, but
huh.
yeah, I was like, okay. But actually, it was well produced. I mean, actually, it was really, really
I've
good.
enjoyed it.
It was fun, and some of these guys can still play in the league for real. I mean, some of the guys were really. I mean, Allen didn't play, but it's really good competition. I'd love to see. It's really great to see. Where are these guys now? Like Kareem Rush and Bruce
Right.
Brown and some of these players. Steven Jackson was playing, and I mean, he looked in great shape actually. But it was really. It's a fun experience. I'm glad they moved it from 60 points to 50, so
Mm-hmm.
the games weren't as long. But it was really compelling. Guys were shooting. I love that. The setup is great. So hopefully they can build on it. But
Yeah.
it'd be great to see more names. Obviously, like we always like their names, but it's also tough for them too. Because people like, do they still shoot?
Right.
But it's so fun. And you definitely is a little who's who on Celebrity Row. A lot of Ice Cube's friends, and like the Bow Wow and Ellen J were there, and
Yeah.
Philly legend Boxer was there. So it's definitely a fun.
And they've been getting good crowds. I've only seen them on television, but see, like you said, seeing somebody, and I think it's the perfect kind of setup. The court's obviously shorter. There's one goal. I just think that
Right.
it makes
Yeah.
it, and when they cut it down to where the games weren't so long, entertaining, so it moves, and it
Right.
is fun to see guys that we used to watch play who can still play. They're just not all wobbling around. It's not quite like the Legends game
Right.
for an
Right.
All-Star weekend. It's actually a little
Right.
more
Right.
competitive.
Exactly.
So
And they
it's
haven't
fun
had
to
a lot
see.
of injuries. I mean, of course, they had the two early with
Right.
Jason Williams and Corey Maggette really were hurt early. But beyond that, I think Kenyon Martin had a little bit of a hamstring, but he's going to be back this weekend. So they haven't had a lot of legs blown out or ankles blown out. So that's been great. And they play. I mean, they're sweating. I mean, they're definitely going at it. And that 4-point shot's fun because the team
Yeah.
is down by a lot. And you hit a couple of those, and I mean, if Steph Curry was shooting it would
It'd be game over.
be because it's not that far outside the 3-point line. So, team, so it makes it exciting. It's to come back, they get down by a lot. So,
Awesome.
it was great to see in person. I wish them definitely success and hopefully the best.
All right, Terry Washington, I appreciate it. I appreciate you getting up, and next time, hopefully, I'll give you more notice.
No, you're good. You're good. It's always a pleasure.
All right, I'll talk to you soon. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, and thanks for having me.
Okay.